Hey guys, what's going on? Team Crimson back again. Coming at you with another deck profile. This is actually my first deck profile. As you can tell by the title and the cards in front of you, I am playing Raidraptors. Now, I've been playing Raidraptors for a long time. Basically, ever since I started getting into Yu-Gi-Oh!, which was about 6 months ago. I've been playing them. I've really enjoyed them. They're really consistent, but they do suffer from not having that many power plays. They search out all the cards you don't need, basically. The rank up magics aren't searchable, hurts the deck, and yeah, that's just the biggest problem they have. So yeah, that being said, let's just get straight into it. Off the bat, there's mandatory 3-ofs you play in the deck. Play 3 Tribute Lanius, mandatory 3 of. He's a Foolish Burial for Raidraptor cards, so he's really good by himself. He's a 1 card for 4 Strix in himself. So yeah, that's you play 3 of him. 3 Mimicry. Mimicry is really good. Turn it sent to the graveyard. You can banish it to add any Raidraptor card, not just a monster. So it's really good to get yourself Nest and then net yourself so much advantage just doing it that way. So yeah, you play 3 Mimicry Lanius just because it combos so well with Tribute. Playing it does brick sometimes, but you have to play 3 of it just because you play the 3 Tribute Lanius and that's what you send every time you summon them. So yeah, mandatory 3 of. Another mandatory 3 of you play is Vanishing Lanius. Now Vanishing Lanius is really good. Basically the best cards you can see in your opening hand is these two. Just because you summon him, summon that, send Mimicry off Tribute Lanius, and you have a 4-Strix right here. This can get you nest you to another search, and you're basically plussing for days off everything. And he's really good in himself just because he creates a loop for himself where you summon him, his effect is summon one from the hand, effect to summon one from the hand, and then you've just got yourself basically this. And if you do have this in your hand, like GG, well, not really because you can't search your power plays to make it GG, but you basically just created yourself 2 4-Strixes, a search, and then yeah, it's really easy to make double 4-Strix or triple 4-Strix. You treat this like you would Burning Abyss. If you can make it, do it. It's like if you can make 2 Dantes, you make 2 Dantes. Same thing with this deck. So yeah, another mandatory 3 of Fuzzy Lanius. He inherently summons himself if you control another Raidraptor, and then he searches himself when he's sent to the graveyard. The only thing bad about him though is that when he uses either of his effects, you can only summon Raidraptors for the whole turn, not just after you've done it, but before that too. So you really got to watch out for when you're doing that. If you need to get into certain cards to get over what you're facing, like if you need to go into Castell, which I do run, to get over some monster your opponent has. So yeah, you just got to watch out when you play Fuzzy. So that's it for the mandatory 3-ofs. The rest are all 1-ofs. I don't run any 2-ofs in the deck. There were a couple I used to run, but I took them out just because they're cloggy, everything's searchable. So yeah. Play this just because you can change something to defense. Anything that has less than 1700 defense, you attack over it, special summon another Raidraptor from your graveyard, your main phase 2. He's your out to Vanity's Fiend. A lot of decks play Vanity's Fiend in the side deck or in the main deck, or at least around here they do. So he's a 1 card out to that. I wouldn't play 2. I wouldn't want to play him at all, really, but he's like a necessary evil. If you open him your first turn, it doesn't help you. But yeah, you do run things to use him as fodder. You could use it with Twin Twisters. You could use it with Allure, because you do run Allure and Twin Twisters in the deck. So you could use those two just as him for fodder. So yeah, I do run the 1 Booster Strix, though. Booster Strix really good. If your opponent attacks, banish it from the hand to destroy the attacking monster. It's the only way you can protect Ultimate Falcon if they make something over 3500 attack. And after you play it the 1 time, your opponent's just going to keep thinking. You're going to be playing mind games because you're always searching cards. And most of the times, if they're not really paying attention, they're just like, okay, yeah, you search the card, you search the card, you search the card. They don't know how many of these you have. You only play the 1 because it just keeps the mind games going, right? Another 2 1-ofs that I play are these 2, because these 2 is are 4-Strix in themselves. Just because if you control a 4-Strix or any other Xyz, you can special summon that, and then you can target it with this from your hand, take damage, take 100 damage, because you take damage equal to the attack or defense of a Raidraptor monster, whichever's lower. and then special summon it. It becomes that level, and then you have another 4 strix, just off having 4 strix in these 2 cards in your hand. And I know that might sound a little problematic by having, oh, you need to have 2 cards in your hand. Everything's all the monsters are searchable in the deck, easily searchable, so it's not that hard to get off. And for the last one of Raidraptor monster I play 1 Lastrix. Now I know you might be thinking, if you're into Raidraptors or you've seen other deck profiles, some people play 2, some people even play 3. I don't, just because in your opening hand, if you draw him and no rank up magic, he's a dead draw. He doesn't do anything for you besides make 77. But there's better things you can do than make 77 to get the deck rolling. You want to get the deck rolling, not just make 1 power play right off the bat and just sit on a 4,000 beater that can't be destroyed once. So yeah, you play the 1. It's searchable. Yeah, so that's why. And because he can summon himself when it's not the first turn, you can summon himself after you've done everything else. Summon him, and then you can just make Ultimate Falcon in your main phase 2 if you have to. And then yeah. So that's all the Raidraptors. Outside of that, I play double Maxi, great meta call. Monarchs are dead. You don't really have to worry about it. I run them in the main instead of like a side deck, just because where you do have that 1 card 4 strix, you do have other cards that can net you advantage just off 1 card. So like having a dead card in your hand first turn doesn't really hurt. Just because when your opponent goes next, drop Maxi and hope to bird Jesus that you draw into your rank up magics. So aside of that, play 1 Nest, just because Nest is searchable off Mimicry. 2 can be cloggy, 2 can be necessary sometimes though as well, just because if they destroy this, then there's no getting it back. But yeah, you only play the 1 just to leave room for other things in the deck. Same thing with Readiness. You only play the 1 just because it's searchable. It helps. Drawing 2 doesn't. And yeah, only play the 1. Outside of that, for the rank up magics, I play 3 Skip Force and I play 3 Soul Shave. Now, because of Dragons of Legends and Blade Burner Falcon, I play 3 of this. I used to only play 2 and then 1 Astral Force. This card is inherently better than Astral Force just because its secondary effect doesn't give you any negatives. It's just all pluses, and so yeah. Run 3 of these just because you can get into Cyber Dragon Infinity. It's another boss monster outside of Ultimate Falcon you can go into. You could also go into Revolution Falcon, who is really good by himself. Sometimes I would go into Revolution Falcon instead of Cyber Dragon Infinity. It all just depends on what position you're in, really. So then you play 2 Raptors Gust, just for spell trap negation. And if you control a Raidraptor card, it negates the Solemns. Negating Solemns are always really good. So yeah, you play 2 of those. And then some 1-ofs, you play Cattle Call, just because it's basically a Lastrix in a card. So yeah, play 1 of that. 1 Swallow's Nest. Swallow's Nest really helps out. If you dead drawed the Mimicry, you summon the Mimicry, use this for Tribute Lanius. Mimicry's effect to search for whatever you want, and then Tribute Lanius' effect send like Fuzzy, and then you get a Fuzzy, and you've just netted advantage. I wouldn't run more than 1 just because it's really situational. There's not very many times where you're gonna need it, but it does come up, but I don't really want to get into it a lot. So outside of that, play 1 Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is really good because all the cards in the deck, a lot of them run off going to the graveyard and netting you advantage from that. So you play 1 Foolish Burial. This deck's pretty non-meta. It's leaning on the edge of Tier 2 from Tier 3. So you want to run the Regeki just because Regeki's a really good card and you want to clear things off the board. Same thing with Twin Twister. The discard from it isn't really that much of a cost to you, just because Mimicry can search any other card. Fuzzy Lanius adds himself, and a lot of you're gonna end up having a lot of cards in your hand of Raidraptor monsters, just because you search a lot in this deck, so it doesn't really hurt. And you want to be able to like destroy the Solemns because you don't want your normal summon negated, because you need the normal summon to go off. So yeah, you run 2 Twin Twisters, great meta call, and then you play your own Solemns, play the 2 Solemn Strikes. I wouldn't play the third. I do have a third, but I don't play it just because you pay a lot of life points in this deck. Like you pay 1,500 for each of these, and then you have Soul Shave, which pays half your life points. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're under, say, like 2,000 or anything like that. Like if you're under the, you don't want it to be cowboyed for game, right? So like you just giving yourself extra room to play other shit. And then for the last three cards of the deck, play Triple Allure. I know some people wouldn't play it. Some people stick to two, even though it's off the ban list. I play three just because I want to see it in my opening hand. Two doesn't hurt because you have a lot of cards that are one card four strikes. Like if you have Tribute Lanius, the thing is you don't use this right away, right? You keep this, and then you do everything. You make four strikes. You search all the Raidraptor monsters. You do whatever you can. You try to get all the Raidraptor monsters out of your deck. Just because then when you use Allure, you have so many targets in your hand because you search a lot from four strikes. Just so that you hope that you draw into any of these other cards, right? And hope you draw into your rank up magics, everything like that. So that's why you play three of these, just as a way to try to alleviate the issue that you can't search your rank up magics. You're just trying to hope that you draw them, basically. So yeah, that's the main deck. Don't have the side deck here. Just because it all depends on what your locals is like for your side deck. You wanna side against what you know you're gonna face. There are a lot of generic side deck cards. Like I would probably side the extra Solemn Strike just because if you're going up against something that you don't want them to get out, you wanna see the Solemn Strike as much as possible. Or the third Raptors Gust. So that's just all generic things to run. But it's all up to you what you want to play, like Kaiju's and stuff like that, right? So for the extra deck, you play three four strikes. This I don't think this needs to be explained much. Play three just because you need the third comes up all the time. You treat this card like you would Dante and Burning Abyss. If you can make two, make it. And yeah, if you can make it, do it because it nets you so much advantage. Keeps the deck going, gets the monsters out of the deck. So yeah, you play three of that. Play one of this. It's the main reason I play three Soul Shave, just because if it's first turn, you're down to 4,000 life points. They're at 8. You make this. This becomes a 4K beater basically. So it's really good. It's really good comboing off Soul Shave. After you do the Soul Shave, make Infinity, then you can make this, and yeah, it just works really well in the deck. So yeah, aside of that, for the first target to rank up into, I have Revolution Falcon. I play two just because it's really good. It's comparable to Ultimate Falcon. Sometimes I would rather this over Ultimate Falcon just because it can attack all special summon monsters and their attack becomes 0 when he attacks. So if your opponent has 4 monsters, they're all special summoned, like if they spammed 4 out and you summon this, like you attack all of them, it's GG. You just did 8,000 damage. So he's really good in himself. He's a Volcasaurus that but except he does half the attack as damage. So like even if you're playing like monarchs, if it comes up, you can destroy the monarch and then you could like attack anything else that they have. So yeah. And then the next target you play is one satellite cannon. You basically use it as fodder to go into Ultimate Falcon if you need to. Not very many times you actually make it. When you do make it, it's a blowout card because just make it, destroy everything. It's really good. Destroy all spell traps. It's really good. You know you play it, Ultimate Falcon. Boss monster of the deck. You play 2. You play 1 so you can go into it, like off ranking up Satellite Cannon. And you play the other one just because when you don't have a way to rank up into it, you could just use Cattle Call or Lastrix to tribute to go into Ultimate Falcon and then overlay 77 on top of it. And then you have a 4K beater that can't be destroyed once. Works well off Lastrix because then you get a normal summon 4K beater. There's more things you want to do other than that, but it really works out. Soul Shave target, Infinity. Infinity's a great card if you've never seen it before. You know. Then you play the 1-0 Fine. Really good rank 4. Screws over DDDs and their continuous spells. Play Abyss Dweller just because it gets over Burning Abyss. Play the Castell, get over problematic monsters. And the F-Zero so that you can A lot of decks don't have an out to it, so it's a really good card to go into. And yeah, basically, Utopic Future can win games. So yeah, that's the whole deck. Hope to see you in the next one.